Imagine driving across the American West. The road stretches for miles. No traffic. No voices. Then in the distance, an entire town appears. Churches. Schools. Hills. A bank. Hundreds of empty homes. Everything is still standing. Yet not a single person lives there. How does an entire town simply disappear? Did people flee overnight? Was there a deadly disaster? Or do these forgotten streets hide secrets that history never fully explained? Tonight, we uncover the hidden history of America's forgotten ghost towns, places where dreams were built, fortunes were made, and entire communities vanished, leaving behind mysteries that still echo across the landscape. Before we dive deeply, kindly subscribe to my page, follow, like, and share for more hidden history, untold stories, and fascinating historical mysteries. America is home to thousands of ghost towns. Some contain only a single crumbling building. Others remain astonishingly intact, frozen in time. Walk their empty streets today, and you can still see abandoned hotels, silent churches, weathered saloons, forgotten schools, and rusting rail tracks disappearing into the horizon. Each town tells a different story. Some died because the gold ran out. Others were abandoned after devastating fires, floods, epidemics, or economic collapse. A few simply lost the railroad, and with it, their future. Yet one question connects them all. How could places once filled with thousands of people become completely deserted? The answer begins during one of the most transformative periods in American history. In the 19th century, the United States expanded rapidly westward. New territories promised opportunity. Government land policies, migration, mining discoveries, railroads, and economic ambition drew settlers into regions that had previously been sparsely populated by newcomers, while indigenous nations already lived throughout these lands. Word of opportunity spread quickly. A single newspaper headline could trigger an enormous migration. Families packed everything they owned. Young prospectors left home hoping to become rich. Entrepreneurs followed. Wherever valuable resources were discovered, towns appeared almost overnight. Some began with a few tents. Within months, they had shops, boarding houses, newspapers, schools, blacksmiths, and churches. Optimism filled the air. People believed these towns would last forever. Many did not. In 1848, gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill in California. News spread slowly at first. Then it exploded across the nation and around the world. The California Gold Rush became one of the greatest migrations in American history. Hundreds of thousands traveled west from the eastern United States, Latin America, Europe, Australia, and Asia. Mining camps appeared almost overnight. Some camps transformed into thriving towns within weeks. General stores opened. Doctors arrived. Hotels expanded. Banks offered loans. Local governments formed. Entire economies sprang from a single discovery. Yet there was one dangerous assumption: that the gold would never run out. History would prove otherwise. Boom towns earned their name for a reason. Their growth was explosive. A settlement of 50 people could become 5,000 in a matter of months. Buildings rose quickly, often using inexpensive timber. Main streets filled with businesses competing for customers. Saloons became social centers. Newspapers reported mining successes almost daily. Land values soared. Speculation became common. Some residents became wealthy almost instantly. Others invested everything they owned, convinced the boom would continue forever. For a brief moment, these towns seemed unstoppable. Life in a boom town was exciting, but rarely easy. Most homes lacked modern plumbing. Medical care was limited. Winters could be severe. Summers brought dust, heat, and drought. Food prices fluctuated dramatically depending on transportation. Law enforcement often struggled to keep pace with rapid population growth. Despite these hardships, communities formed. Children attended school. Families celebrated holidays. Neighbors built churches. Musicians performed in crowded dance halls. People married. Children were born. Businesses expanded. The towns felt permanent. But beneath that optimism lay a fragile reality. Most depended on a single industry. One mine, one railroad, one resource. If that foundation failed, everything else could collapse. Long before abandonment, subtle warning signs often appeared. Mine production slowed. Investors became cautious. Businesses closed earlier. Young workers left in search of better opportunities. Merchants extended credit because customers lacked cash. Property values stopped rising. Local newspapers became thinner. The excitement that once attracted newcomers quietly faded. Yet many residents refused to believe the end was near. They had invested too much. Emotion often delayed difficult decisions. By the time the danger became obvious, leaving was sometimes the only option. One of the greatest misconceptions about ghost towns is that they were all created by the gold rush. In reality, America has ghost towns born from many different causes. Silver mining, coal extraction, logging, railroad realignments, military installations, flood control projects, environmental disasters, changing transportation routes, economic depressions. Each abandoned town reflects a different chapter of American history. Together, they reveal how quickly prosperity can disappear when an economy depends too heavily on a single resource or industry. For generations, ghost towns were romanticized as symbols of the Wild West. Hollywood often portrayed them as places emptied by dramatic shootouts or outlaw gangs. The historical record tells a more complex story. Most ghost towns did not vanish overnight. Many declined gradually over years or decades. Businesses closed one by one. Families relocated. Schools merged. Churches held fewer services. Eventually, only a handful of residents remained. The silence came slowly. Understanding that gradual decline makes these places even more haunting. Some ghost towns never completely vanished. Caretakers remained. Historical societies preserved buildings. Archaeologists studied foundations. Tourists arrived searching for a glimpse of the past. Places like Bodie, California, Bannack, Montana, and Rhyolite, Nevada now stand as carefully preserved reminders of earlier generations. Walking through them is like stepping into another century. Every abandoned storefront tells a story. Every empty home once echoed with laughter, conversation, and hope. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not why ghost towns disappeared. It is why so many Americans have forgotten they ever existed. Thousands of communities shaped the nation's expansion. Most no longer appear on modern maps. Yet beneath layers of dust lie forgotten dreams, remarkable engineering, heartbreaking losses, and extraordinary stories waiting to be rediscovered. These abandoned towns are not simply ruins. They are time capsules. The wind continues to blow through broken windows. Wooden signs fade beneath the desert sun. Railway tracks rust. Nature slowly reclaims streets once crowded with people chasing the American dream. Ghost towns remind us that every great city, no matter how prosperous, depends on choices, resources, and circumstances that can change. History is filled with places that seemed destined to last forever. Many did not. But one question remains. What if some ghost towns weren't abandoned because the gold disappeared? What if powerful business decisions, railroad politics, and corporate interests quietly determined which towns survived, and which were left to die? In the next episode, we'll uncover the astonishing rise of America's boomtowns, the fierce race for gold and silver, and the hidden forces that transformed bustling cities into forgotten ruins. The real story is only just beginning. Communities that once thrived before fading into silence. But to understand why these towns disappeared, we must first understand why they existed at all. Because before the abandoned buildings, before the empty streets, before the wind echoed through broken windows, there was hope, there was excitement, and there was gold. January 24, 1848. At a sawmill owned by John Sutter near the American River in California, carpenter James W. Marshall noticed something unusual in the water. Small, shiny flakes reflected the sunlight. After testing them, the discovery became clear. At first, the news spread quietly. Sutter hoped to keep the discovery secret. He feared that workers would abandon his mill if word got out. He was right. Within months, rumors spread across California, then across the United States, then across the world. Newspapers published astonishing reports. Some exaggerated, others underestimated what was coming. By 1849, tens of thousands of fortune seekers, later known as the 49ers, were heading west. They came from New York, Mexico, Chile, China, Australia, France, Germany, everywhere. Many sold everything they owned for a chance at unimaginable wealth. The journey itself was dangerous. Some crossed the continent by wagon. Others sailed around Cape Horn. Many crossed the Isthmus of Panama before continuing north by ship. Disease, starvation, storms, and accidents claimed countless lives before travelers even reached California. Yet they kept coming, because one discovery had ignited the greatest gold rush in American history. Where gold appeared, people followed. And where people gathered, entire towns seemed to rise almost overnight. Canvas tents quickly became wooden buildings. General stores opened beside blacksmith shops. Hotels appeared. Banks offered loans. Doctors advertised their services. Lawyers established offices. Printers launched newspapers. Schools welcomed children. Churches rang their bells every Sunday. What had been open wilderness only months earlier became bustling communities. Main streets overflowed with wagons, horses, merchants, entertainers, and prospectors. The sound of hammers echoed day and night as new buildings appeared. People believed these boomtowns would become the next great American cities. Some did. Most didn't. Gold changed people. Farmers abandoned their fields. Sailors deserted their ships. Merchants closed successful businesses. Doctors left patients behind. Even government officials resigned their positions. Everyone wanted gold. Some miners struck rich veins within days. Newspapers celebrated spectacular discoveries. Stories spread of ordinary men becoming wealthy overnight. But those stories told only part of the truth. For every successful miner, thousands found almost nothing. Many spent months digging without reward. Others exhausted their savings buying equipment. Some never recovered financially. The gold rush created enormous fortunes. It also created enormous disappointment. Here's something that surprises many historians. Not everyone who became wealthy during the gold rush found gold. In fact, many never entered a mine. Instead, they sold supplies, food, tools, clothing, lumber, transportation, hotels, restaurants, mining equipment. One famous merchant sold durable work pants to miners. His name was Levi Strauss. His business would become one of the world's best-known clothing companies. The lesson became clear. Sometimes the greatest fortunes were made by serving the dream, not chasing it. Few ghost towns capture America's imagination like Bodie, California. Gold discoveries nearby transformed the settlement into one of the fastest-growing mining towns in the American West. By the late 1870s, Bodie held thousands of residents. Its streets were crowded. More than 60 saloons served miners. Businesses flourished. Schools educated children. Churches welcomed families. Yet Bodie also earned a reputation for violence. Newspapers described shootings, robberies, and gambling. Some reports were exaggerated. Others reflected genuine lawlessness common in rapidly growing frontier towns. Despite its rough reputation, Bodie was also home to hard-working families trying to build ordinary lives. Today, preserved buildings still stand exactly where they were left. Walking through Bodie feels like stepping directly into the 19th century. Then came Nevada. In 1859, prospectors discovered the Comstock Lode, one of the richest silver deposits ever found in North America. Virginia City exploded with growth. Unlike many rough mining camps, it developed impressive infrastructure. Elegant hotels, opera houses, banks, telegraph connections, newspapers, modern businesses. Fortunes measured in millions of dollars emerged from the surrounding mines. Industrial innovation accelerated. Mining technology advanced rapidly. Yet enormous wealth brought enormous speculation. Investors rushed to profit. Stock prices soared. Risk increased. The city's future depended on a single resource beneath the ground. Perhaps no town better symbolizes boom and bust than Rhyolite, Nevada. Gold discoveries near Death Valley triggered another explosion of optimism. Within only a few years, Rhyolite possessed hills, banks, electric lighting, concrete sidewalks, a stock exchange, a hospital, a school, an opera house. Residents believed they were building one of the greatest cities in the Southwest. Then reality arrived. Mining production declined. Investment slowed. The financial panic of 1907 reduced outside funding. Railroads shifted priorities. Businesses closed. Families left. Within only a few years, one of America's fastest-growing cities became one of its most famous ghost towns. Today, only scattered ruins remain beneath the desert sun. Most people assume ghost towns disappeared because miners simply ran out of gold. The truth is more complicated. Many communities still had valuable minerals underground. What changed was economics. As ore became harder to reach, extraction became more expensive. Falling metal prices made operations less profitable. Transportation costs increased. Investors redirected their money elsewhere. Sometimes the resource remained. The profit disappeared. And when investments stopped, the town followed. Historians continue debating another fascinating question. Did railroads determine which towns survived? In many cases, a railroad connection meant prosperity. A town bypassed by a new rail line often struggled immediately. Merchants lost customers. Supplies became expensive. Businesses relocated closer to transportation. Entire communities slowly emptied. Some residents believed railroad executives held extraordinary power over local economies. Modern historians generally agree that transportation played a major role, though usually alongside mining production, investment, and broader economic conditions. Rarely was there a single cause. History was far more complicated. Perhaps the greatest surprise is this. Many ghost towns were already dying while newspapers still celebrated their success. Behind optimistic headlines, mine owners worried. Investors quietly sold shares. Businesses prepared exit plans. Ordinary families continued believing tomorrow would be even better. Sometimes the end begins long before anyone recognizes it. Today, abandoned streets stretch beneath endless skies. Weathered wooden buildings still stand where hopeful families once dreamed of a better future. Their silence reminds us that prosperity can be astonishingly fragile. Entire cities can rise within a decade and disappear just as quickly. The American frontier was built on ambition, but ambition alone could not guarantee survival. Yet an even darker mystery awaits. Some ghost towns didn't disappear because the mines failed. They disappeared because tragedy struck without warning. Explosions, deadly epidemics, floods, fires, environmental disasters. Entire communities were transformed in a matter of hours. We watched fortunes rise almost overnight. Gold was discovered. Silver flowed from the mountains. Entire cities appeared where only wilderness had existed months before. But every boom carries the seeds of its own collapse. Some towns slowly faded as mines became less profitable. Others never had the chance. Because in a single afternoon, a thriving community could become a ghost town forever. Tonight, we uncover the forgotten disasters that erased entire American towns from history. The American frontier promised opportunity, but it also demanded a price. Settlers built towns in deserts, along rivers, deep inside forests, and beneath towering mountains. These locations offered resources: gold, silver, coal, timber, water. Yet the same landscape that created prosperity could destroy it. Many communities had no modern warning systems, no weather satellites, no emergency broadcasts, no engineering standards capable of resisting nature's worst moments. People often believed tomorrow would look exactly like yesterday. History proved otherwise. Most frontier towns were built quickly. Wood was abundant. Speed mattered more than permanence. Buildings stood shoulder to shoulder. One small fire could become an unstoppable inferno. A single overturned lantern. A kitchen accident. A chimney spark. Strong winds could carry flames from rooftop to rooftop within minutes. Volunteer bucket brigades often fought desperately. Sometimes they succeeded. Often, they didn't. Entire business districts disappeared overnight. Some communities rebuilt. Others simply gave up. The cost was too great. The people moved on, leaving behind nothing but blackened foundations beneath the dust. Floods reshaped America's history. Mining towns often depended on rivers for transportation and water. Yet rivers have memories of their own. Heavy snowmelt, sudden storms, dam failures, ice jams. Without warning, water reclaimed the land. Homes collapsed. Bridges vanished. Roads disappeared. Railroads twisted beneath rushing currents. Families climbed rooftops waiting for rescue. When the floodwaters finally receded, many discovered there was nothing left to rebuild. Some towns relocated. Others vanished from maps forever. Not every ghost town died dramatically. Some faded quietly. Disease spread quickly across crowded frontier settlements. Before modern antibiotics, before advanced sanitation, simple illnesses became deadly epidemics. Smallpox, cholera, typhoid fever, influenza. Mining camps and railroad towns brought together thousands of strangers from different parts of the world. Crowded housing and limited medical care allowed diseases to spread rapidly. Some communities lost large portions of their population within weeks. Businesses closed. Schools emptied. Church bells rang far too often. Fear became stronger than hope. Many families packed their belongings and never returned. Mining was among the most dangerous occupations of the 19th century. Workers descended hundreds of feet underground. Explosive gases gathered silently. Timber supports weakened. Dust filled the air. One mistake, one spark, one collapse could trap dozens or hundreds of miners below the surface. Entire communities depended on those mines. When disaster struck, the economic heart of the town stopped beating. Widows mourned. Businesses closed. Families left in search of safer futures. Sometimes the mine reopened. Sometimes it never did. And without the mine, the town slowly became another ghost on the American frontier. Perhaps America's most astonishing ghost town isn't hidden beneath the desert. It's in Pennsylvania. Its name is Centralia. In 1962, a fire ignited in or near an old landfill and spread into underground coal seams. Despite repeated efforts, the fire continued to burn beneath the town. Over time, dangerous gases escaped through cracks in the ground. Roads buckled. Sinkholes opened. Buildings became unsafe. Most residents accepted government buyouts and relocated. Today, only a handful of residents remain. Scientists estimate the underground fire could continue burning for many decades, or even centuries, depending on local conditions and remaining fuel. Centralia reminds us that some ghost towns aren't relics of the distant past. They continue changing even today. People often imagine ghost towns as abandoned in a single dramatic moment. The truth is usually more heartbreaking. Many families stayed as long as they could. Parents hoped the mine would reopen. Shop owners believed business would return. Teachers continued holding classes with fewer students each year. Churches gathered smaller congregations. The final residents often refused to abandon the only home they had ever known. Ghost towns were not emptied by buildings collapsing. They were emptied by hopes slowly disappearing. Over time, legends grew around many abandoned towns. Stories of curses, hidden treasure, ghostly figures walking empty streets, mysterious lights in abandoned windows. While these tales became part of local folklore, historians generally find that most ghost towns can be explained through documented economic, environmental, engineering, or public health factors. Yet the legends persist. Perhaps because people struggle to accept that entire communities can disappear through ordinary human decisions combined with extraordinary circumstances. Sometimes reality is haunting enough. Behind every abandoned building stood real lives. Children who played in dusty streets. Teachers who believed their schools would serve generations. merchants who invested their savings, immigrants searching for opportunity, miners risking everything for a better future. When towns disappeared, dreams disappeared with them. History often remembers the buildings. It should also remember the people. Many ghost towns were not destroyed by a single disaster. Instead, they suffered several smaller crises. A declining mine, then a fire, then an epidemic, then a railroad bypass. Each challenge weakened the community until recovery became impossible. The final collapse often appeared sudden. In reality, it had been unfolding for years. Walk through a ghost town today, and you'll notice something remarkable. Silence. No engines. No conversations. Only the wind moving through abandoned homes. Yet if you listen carefully, history still speaks. Every broken doorway, every rusted sign, every forgotten cemetery tells the story of people who believed they were building forever. But perhaps the greatest mystery isn't why these towns disappeared. It's why some survived while neighboring communities vanished completely. Did luck decide their fate? Or did powerful railroad companies, wealthy investors, and political decisions secretly determine which towns lived and which were left behind? In Episode 2, we'll uncover the hidden power struggles of the American West, where fortunes, politics, railroads, and corporate influence shaped the destiny of entire cities. The answers may change the way you see America's expansion forever. Please don't forget to subscribe to my page, follow, like, and share for more hidden history, untold stories, and fascinating historical mysteries.